Welcome back to Learn Astrology with Mary. My name's Mary English. You can find me at www.maryenglish.com, maryenglish.co.uk, and UK Astrologer. And today we have a special guest. So we've got Lianne McCafferty, and she holds a diploma from the Mayo School, and she has it in distinction. And she's learnt both Natal and Mundane Astrology. She's also a member of the APAI. And she's also now a trustee for the Astrological Association and the Scottish AA. So she's based up in the Northeast and she consults international with a busy and varied client base, but she takes a particular interest in how astrology can be utilised in sport to help enhance performance. So welcome, Lianne. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you for inviting me, Mary. Thank you.
Tell me about the sports thing.
Um, yeah, sports been a huge part of my life for many, many years. As I grew up, I was obsessed with horses, etc., etc. And when I was about 14, 15, I was finally lucky enough to get a horse of my own, which was
Oh,
just
wow.
so
Lucky
many kids'
you.
dreams, because for so many Christmases every year, I just imagined that I was going to wake up on Christmas morning and there'd be a pony in the garden, that type of thing. Anyway, so that happened. I'm incredibly competitive, and I just straight away got competing, etc. And then one horse became two, became three, became four, as it happens. But in the meantime, I was very academic as well. So I was kind of all primed to sort of head off to university and do either medicine or veterinary or something like that. Anyway, I got to sixth form and it just all completely changed. And I realized I wanted to just stay at home, get a job, and work that alongside the horses.
Mhm.
So that's what I did. But I went down a scientific route, ended up kind of studying on the job at the same time. And I had an incredible job with Procter and Gamble in R&D. Um, so
That
an
stands for research and development, is that right?
development. Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. So, you know, um, so I had that incredible job, but at the same time, I was sort of being pulled in the other direction by the horses because I was starting to compete at a higher and higher level. And that's what I wanted to do full time, run my own business. So anyway, hit my Saturn return,
Hmm.
as you do. Ditched the job at Procter and Gamble because I'd found a perfect base from which to sort of set up a stable yard, a competing yard with
Hmm.
the horses. And that's what happened. Then it went from there, and I naturally sort of I did coaching. I think
Hmm.
when you're sort of doing sport professionally, coaching kind of is a natural progression for some, because I'd say there's some incredible sports people out there, but it doesn't necessarily make them great coaches, and vice versa. You can have brilliant coaches who've perhaps never hit the heights,
Hmm.
so there's variations. So that's where the sport thing came in. And then as I was getting into probably my late 30s, my life changed. I had my son, and that's my baby son, not my natal son. And I'll
Hmm.
share a joke about that with you later on if you like.
Yes, please.
Yeah. And yeah, my life changed in many, many, many ways.
Mm.
So yeah, I kind of retired from the whole horse equestrian thing. And then when my son hit about 6 or 7 years old, he took up karate.
Hmm.
And I remember taking him to the very first session, and I watched and I was like, I'm going to wait for him to get his first belt, do his
Hmm.
first grading, and then I'm going to start this again alongside him. And then that's what happened. And here I am now as a second Dan black belt.
Oh, wow. You're black
Yeah,
belt. Oh, my God. Okay. Hmm.
second Dan, so second level of black belt. So although I said goodbye to the equestrian career and the horses as such, I found another sporting passion to take the place of that, because for me, everything mental and physical is all caught up in one. That it's very holistic for me. I have to be moving, competing, but I have to be thinking and researching at the same time. It's all integrated, and I'm a huge believer in we keep our bodies and minds healthy, and they work together.
Oh, I should hope so. You've got Sun in the
Very
sixth house
important.
in the equal house. Have you got that in Placidus, Sun in the sixth?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. Yeah,
Mm.
yeah. So it's really important for me to have that physical outlet to balance the mental because I have a brain that never switches off. Yeah, I've got one of those. So yeah, and then all those those coaching skills that I learned over the years and all the life experience from having a career in sport, it's just a natural transference into consultant with clients in astrology, whether it just be, just those regular life issues that people come to us with, or sports.
Mm.
How do you help people with the ups and downs of a sports career?
Mm.
So I've just channeled astrology into that now.
Mm. And then, so how did you get into astrology to start with? So you've done a physical academic career, and then you've sidestepped, or I don't know if you sidestepped, you stepped into astrology. So talk to me about how you got into astrology.
So as a kid, I was obsessed with myth, Jason and the Argonauts, Sinbad, anything like that, any books about myth, Greek, Roman mythology, anything like that. And then as I got older into my teens, I was obsessed with horoscope columns in magazines. Yeah,
Mhm.
it's that typical path. Um, but never really thought more of it, but just obsessed. And then when, the internet came upon us, and then you could get horoscopes on the internet,
Yes.
that was even better. Um, but then again, that pivotal point when I was retiring from the equestrian career and I'd had my son, and I was really at a profound crossroad in my life. And I decided I wanted a change of career. I perhaps wanted to study again. I
Mhm.
really wanted to study something. And then one day, and I have to admit, it was a really, really low point in my life. I went into a library one day and I was like, I need to know how those, well, like Russell Grant, Mystic Meg,
Mm.
Jonathan Keener, how do they write what they write? How do they figure that out? So I got a book from the library, Teach Yourself Astrology. And then went home, looked at that, saw my natal chart for the first ever time.
And what
And I
was
was
that
like,
like, seeing your chart for the first time? How did you feel when you
oh,
saw it?
it was like it was like a whole universe opening up. It was just being like transported down a tunnel of light into a whole new universe. It's like, wow, this is how they do it. This is what they see.
Mhm.
And then I discovered that you could actually study astrology. And I was like, right, not going to do anything like psychology degree or a counseling course, astrology. So then I started looking at all the different schools, etc. Found the Mayo School, and yeah, I'm here
Mm.
now.
Mm. And so
Yeah.
so you were teaching yourself to start with,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
then
yeah.
what made you want to go on to learn it at a professional level? What was the prompt for that?
So at that time of my life, I was looking for I wanted to go back and study, whether that was
Right.
Open University or something like that. But I really had no idea at that point that you could formally study astrology. Then, of course, I found that and I was like, there's another piece in the jigsaw. Yeah. And that's what happened. And I'm very Capricorn. So I do like qualifications and to formalize things. But I
Mhm.
just knew that that was what I was going to do for the rest of my life.
Wow.
Just knew.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, because you've
Yeah.
got Capricorn ascendant, you've got Moon it's only 8 degrees away from the ascendant. You've got
Rising.
Moon
Yeah.
in Capricorn
Rising.
as well, and then the Sun in Cancer in the sixth. But you've got Mars and Mercury conjunct in
Yeah.
Cancer. So that's going
Yeah.
to really energize your Mercury, isn't it? So the physical side of things probably helps because
Yeah.
otherwise your little Mercury's going to get a little bit out of its basket if it's just not doing something physical. Bit of the old
Yeah.
Mars going on there.
Yeah, absolutely. And they're both like right at the end on those, anoretic degrees of
Mm.
cancer. And I use this analogy all the time. Well, it's not an analogy, it's an actual real thing. But I share this with clients in talks. And I always say when I go to karate class on a Saturday morning or a Tuesday evening, whenever, I walk in there, right? My mind is buzzing with the talk that I'm preparing. I've had to pull myself away. I've got 20 emails already being prepared in my head. I've got my next talk that I'm thinking about. Then I'm like, what's going on tomorrow? What am I going to be doing next week? I need to plan this and I need to do this and I need to tick that off. And I, I go into my karate class. We start warming up and I'm like, how am I going to get through the next 90 minutes? Then 20 minutes in, I'm like, I'm dying. Why am I doing this to myself? Then by the end of the class, we walk out and I'm just like, I feel amazing. And it's like this reset button because halfway through the class, everything's gone from your head.
Yes.
Everything's cleared out because you're so busy focusing
Mm.
on the demands of
Mm.
the training, the demands of the class, if you like.
Mm.
And it's a complete reset. And of course, if you want to look at it biologically, while you're exercising, you're pumping so much blood around your body, you're filling your brain with dopamine and all of those feel-good chemicals that just clear your mind and reset you. And then you come out and you're rewired, if you like. So whether you're competitive or sporty or not,
Mm.
exercise is so important
Oh,
for
yes. And so many people don't. I mean, so
headspace.
many jobs now are sat at
Oh
screens and stuff.
yeah,
I just
yeah,
think, oh,
yeah,
I mean, my job is because that's how I talk to my clients, unless they come physically to the office. But we've got a doggy, so we take her out in the morning. She can run 30 miles an hour and got to keep up with her. And getting a dog, because we had cats before, but getting a dog really, really did make it. I mean, I used to go walking anyway, but now I have to go out because of
yeah.
the dog. But the physical side of it, sometimes it's, it's raining, it's cold, it's wet.
No,
You can't not take a lurcher out. It's like
yeah,
then be
not
running around the house.
literally. Yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, I hear what you're saying. And so when you were learning your astrology, did you learn that before or after you had your boy?
He was very, very young, very young. So he's just teeny. So luckily I had my mum on standby. My mum gave me so much childcare support while I was studying and learning. So so yeah, it worked out really well actually. To be honest, because I can imagine if someone's got a young family and they're trying to work and study and etc. etc.
Mm.
It can be challenging. So yeah, but it is
And
what
did
it
you
is. You find a way, don't you?
You do. And did you, when he was born, were you immediately trying to find out about his chart or that didn't happen?
No, because he was born before I was
Right. Started the study.
before
Yeah.
I entered that universe.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. And then so when you did start studying it, who was the, apart from your own chart, which you did first, can you remember what the second chart was you did?
To be honest, no. No, I have no idea, to be honest. I really don't know.
Hmm.
No, I really can't give you an answer to that. I think I just dived into like every single family member,
Hmm.
every single friend, of course, my son's father, ex-partners,
Hmm.
that type of thing. Just anyone in my life. And then, of course, all my poor friends and family had no choice but to become guinea
Hmm.
pigs because I wanted to like write them a full analysis straight away. So yeah, it was just anyone and everyone.
Because that's quite a specific birth time you've got, 9:56 p.m.
Yeah.
So did
Yeah.
mum write that down?
Yeah, she wrote that down, and I can tell you from years of study, it's deadly accurate. Deadly
Mm.
accurate. And she is the most amazing person for facts, figures, and dates.
Great.
She might forget why she's gone into the kitchen,
Mm.
but she knows everyone's birthday, she knows everyone's address. She
Mm.
can tell you the date this happened, the date that happened. She's like, yeah, she's a walking diary.
Oh,
So
excellent. Because the awful thing about living in the UK is nobody knows what time they're born
no,
because it's not on a birth certificate. That's why I love working with American clients. Not that I hate my English clients, don't get me wrong, but a lot of them won't know. Maybe people born after 1980, 1990 are more likely to know their time of birth. But
yeah.
people born in the 40s, 50s, 30s, they haven't got a clue. And
No,
the
they
relatives.
haven't. No, absolutely. And it's like my son, I still don't know the exact moment of his birth. I've got a like 4 or 5 minute window because it was all a bit of an emergency and I was unconscious by that time. My mum was actually present. And she initially said, "Oh, it was 3:27 in the morning," but then sometimes she says 3:33, and that's the only time she's ever hiccuped on not knowing an
Hmm.
exact date or time of something. And I
Hmm.
think that's probably because it was such a traumatic situation.
Hmm.
But I have the window, I'm pretty close, and as he gets older, I can just track it and
Hmm. You don't
what.
still have the little thingy that went round his ankles, do you?
No,
Oh, right, because
no.
when my son was born, they put a little sort of plastic tag on the ankle
Yeah,
of one foot with the time on, and because
yeah,
they did two, they did one for the left and one for. I can't remember if it's the ankle or the wrist. Don't get me wrong, but it was one
yeah.
appendage, and I've got both of them, and one of them says one time, and the other one says another.
Exactly, exactly.
Because obviously they
So
wrote the first one whilst looking at the clock, and then they wrote the second one. It's like, okay, well, the later one is going to be the wrong
I
time.
know, I know, I know. So yeah, no, I've got those two times, but I've got the window, and I'm pretty much there with the exact degrees. But
Mm.
it is what it is. So
Mm-mm-mm. So you're a sun sign Cancer. So did your life
yeah,
completely change after you became a mother? Because being a mother can be
oh,
quite important for a
yeah,
Cancer.
yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, it absolutely changed. It was because I was such a career woman and I'd never even thought about having children. I hadn't even thought about not having children. The whole children thing just hadn't entered my mind, even though, I had relatives who were like onto their second child, I had friends onto their second or third child. It just wasn't on my radar. Um, and then I think I was in my late 30s and just unexpectedly fell pregnant. So, which was a bit of a shock, but it was incredibly exciting. And yeah, it's just the best thing that's ever happened. I just look back at the whole journey and it was meant to be. Everything was meant. I do believe things are meant to be, and sometimes the way we get to where it's meant to be
Mm.
can change, and that's where our free will comes in. But I do think we're on some sort of path. Um, so yeah, it's just absolutely fantastic.
Oh,
Yeah.
bless. And you've got a mum that's helpful. So that helps. My
Yeah,
mum, my mum was
she's
ancient.
cancer.
I think my mum was in her 60s. No, she might even have been older than that.
Mm,
Um, she was getting on a bit anyway by the time I had my child, and it got one son as well. So
mm,
she never did any childcare. And anyway, she didn't live near me, so she couldn't.
yeah.
But people that can have that, I think it's lovely. I think it's important if you
Oh,
can, and you get on with the relative that will be caring for your kiddie.
oh yeah, yeah. I'm very blessed in many ways. She's been absolutely fantastic, and she is definitely been a second mum to him in many
Ah.
ways. They're very, very close, definitely. And I'm very lucky. Even now, I mean, my son, he's coming up 15 now.
Mm-hmm.
But it's enabled me the fact that my mum's there. I can travel. I can go away to conferences. I've been traveling a lot this year, and I know he's back at home with my mum, and they're having a great time while I'm away. It's like
Mm-hmm.
when the cat's away type thing. So yeah, it's worked, and it's perhaps not the most conventional arrangement
Oh,
compared
excuse me,
to
Sun Square
many
Uranus.
other.
Do you want to do conventional?
Well, look at the moon square Uranus as well. I
As
don't
well,
do
yes.
conventional.
Lord, 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 Lord.
No, but it's worked really well. So, and he's used to me traveling away and doing my thing, and he's really cool with it. So,
Mm.
yeah.
And so you're into, so you're a professional astrologer now. You're a trustee for the Astrological Association and also the Scottish Astrological Association. So where would you like to go with your astrology? What sort of direction would you be heading with it? What sort of, because you're a cardinal sign, and cardinal signs plan ahead. Mutable, which I am, we live in the past, and then the fixed signs live in the present. So you're going to be planning ahead. You've got you've got cardinal ascendant, cardinal moon, cardinal sun sign. So
Yeah.
you've got your 5 year plan, your 10 year plan. Where would you like to go with your astrology? What do you want to say do with it? It's the wrong word, but how would you like it to unfold further?
So at the minute, I'm juggling quite a lot of balls in the air, spinning a lot of plates, if you like.
Mhm.
So I think I just need to continue on the path I'm going. I love researching, so I'm absolutely fascinated with the asteroids and the trans-Neptunians. So I had my first book published this year, my debut
Congratulations.
book,
Yes.
thank
Mm.
you. And I'm planning to do one on Haumea, a trans-Neptunian next year. So I want to really build like a box set of books
Mm.
going forward. So that's one project. I want to continue with my tutoring because obviously I tutor for the Mayo.
Oh, do
Um,
you? Oh, right. Okay. That I
yeah,
didn't know.
right.
Sorry.
Yeah, I love teaching. I love working with students. And I can tell you, you learn more from students than any book or any kind of website. So I love doing that. I love speaking at conferences. So I just want to sort of continue with that and developing my skill and enjoying the journey because it's incredible how your perspective grows and changes as an astrologer. So if you think perhaps imagine a scenario where you did a talk 5 years ago. If you were to do the same talk today, you'd have such a different perspective to share, wouldn't you? So I'm just enjoying that side of it. Um, I've got a novel that's going to be published in the next month or two, a fiction
Ooh.
novel,
Hmm.
which is, of course, steeped in myth and symbolism and astrological archetypes, and
Hmm.
it's fantasy magical realism. So I'm really excited about
Hold on.
that.
Fantasy magical realism.
Yeah,
Run
so
that one
it's
past me again slowly. One brain
yeah,
surgery
so
break.
it's not quite a fantasy novel, but where you have a novel that's kind where you've got perhaps some of it's based in real life and then
Mhm.
it kind of overlaps with I don't know, magic or something spiritual or something fantastical,
Mhm.
like time slippage or something like that. It's now termed magical realism, according to all agents and publishers, because you
Mm.
have to sort of tap into the genres, that type of thing.
Oh, yes,
Um,
because they have to know which shelf they're going to put you on in the bookshop or
exactly,
in the online
exactly.
thing, because your book will
Yeah,
be listed under a certain category.
yeah,
I've got
yeah,
a sister who's a novelist and she
yeah.
writes literary fiction. She doesn't write fiction, so I keep getting earfuls all the time about it's not just fiction,
Exactly.
it's literary. Okay, sorry, literary fiction. I just say
Yeah.
I'm non-fiction. But yeah, and there's the Juno. It's called Juno, the book.
No, that's the one that was published early this year. That was the astrology book
Yes,
on
that's the
Julie.
astrology
Yeah.
book. That's Juno, because we'll have to put the link to that. But the new one is got a title for it yet?
It has, but I haven't
Don't tell.
released anything
No,
yet
no,
because
don't.
we're just in the process of proofreading and getting the cover designed, etc. So as soon as the cover's designed, actually, I will be releasing it into the public.
Cool.
To be honest, I kind of see my astrology career working alongside that writing author
Hmm.
type career. I think they both work very well together,
Mm.
you know. So yeah, that's kind of I would say the next 5 year plan,
Hmm.
I think, but you never know, do you?
Mhm. Well, you can make most plans. I mean, obviously you've managed to action quite a lot of things, but you seem to be pretty good at manifesting. But I mean, how did you cope with Pluto going all the way over through the sign of Capricorn and then whizzing over your ascendant? I mean, 2008 for however many years it was. What was that like? It's only just finished now because we're in Aquarius. But what was it like for you and especially when it got conjunction? Tell me, what did it feel like, Pluto over the ascendant?
So, as I was saying, when I was at that crossroads, it was
Yes.
a pretty bad time in my life. So yeah, so what happened? Pluto went into Capricorn,
Hmm.
went over my
Oh,
Jupiter,
Jupiter first, yeah.
then
Hmm.
opposed my sun, then it went over my ascendant, then
Hmm.
it went over my moon 5 times just for the hell of it. And then it's still playing with my Mercury and Mars, to be honest, really right at the end of
Oh, yeah.
Capricorn.
Hmm.
Yeah,
But
it's
it
still at
went over your North Node as well, because your North Node's 26
yeah,
Capricorn, because that's your life purpose and stuff. So when
yeah, yeah,
you were studying obviously and doing
yeah,
astrological
yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Mm.
So obviously, I did have a sort of really challenging period in my life. I was challenged from external sources, probably challenged from internal sources. And I can only say it was a complete and utter purging of my
Right.
life.
Mm.
I moved house about 4 or 5 times, but we have to keep in mind we had that Uranus Pluto square going on, what, 2014, 15-ish,
Hmm.
which was picking up everything as well. So yeah, I moved home several times, and in each time I was clearing out, clearing out, clearing out. So there was a physical clearing out, you know. It was
Hmm.
very sort of Moon Pluto clearing out the homes each time. And each time I moved, I had less to take with me.
Mm.
Yeah. And but there was that emotional purging, and I'm a very different person to what I was, I would say, before 2008, and definitely more empowered. I wouldn't change a thing,
Hmm.
but I wouldn't want to go through any of it again.
Luckily, it won't happen in your lifetime.
No, it won't. It won't. It won't. But
Astrologically impossible, but yeah. Hmm.
yeah, yeah. But I wouldn't want to go through it again. But I wouldn't change a thing, if that makes sense.
Yes, because now you can look back on it and you survived it. But whilst
Oh,
you were going
absolutely.
through it, it must have been hard. I mean,
It's
four
very,
house
very
moves.
hard.
Mm. Was the
Yeah.
relationship breakdown as well during that?
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Right.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Mm.
and not an easy one at all.
Mm.
Not an easy one. Um. So yeah. But I wouldn't, like I say, I wouldn't swap anything. And I think the gift that astrology's given is that I understand why all of that happened, why it all unfolded.
Mm.
And it was to sort of get me to a completely different place where I am now, and to feel a lot more free than I
Hmm.
used to do. And like I say, a lot more empowered, a lot wiser. Um, yeah, and I think I always look back and I'm like, Leanne, you got through all of that. You can
Mm.
pretty much do anything.
Absolutely, yeah. You've got a well done to yourself, haven't you?
Yeah,
But,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Mm-mm.
yeah, absolutely. And that the sense of autonomy, I guess. But then I have got a Capricorn North Node,
Yes.
so it's all kind of pulling you to that sense of autonomy. So yeah, and I hope I haven't scared anyone there regarding any Pluto transits, because that was a extra dose of Pluto, I think,
Mm.
those few years. It hit so many significant points on my chart, but they are empowering
Mm.
at the end,
Mm.
without a doubt. So, and I think if you can move into it, if you can move into the literally the transformation that you're being forced sometimes
Hmm.
to go through, if you can move into it and kind of almost be brave enough to trust in the process,
Mm.
I think it can help. I say that it's not always that easy, though. I don't
Mm.
want to make light of anyone who's going through anything sort of really challenging, but it is a process, and there is that side that you always come out to, you
Mm.
know. You'd always do emerge, into the light.
Mm.
You've
And
been,
did it help knowing that it would eventually finish? Did that help at all? I mean, if you hadn't understood astrology, you wouldn't have known that.
I don't know. I think understanding astrology certainly helped.
Mm,
you know. Don't get me wrong, there were still times where I was in the depths of despair, but I always knew that it was that process and that, the energy was going to change
mm,
and that, yes, I was going to come out of it on the other side at some point. Um, if I hadn't have known any astrology, I think it probably would have been more difficult
mm.
because I would have just been thinking my life was just a complete disaster coming to an end. Why is this happening to me? This is, yeah, I think it would have been a lot more difficult. Yeah, for
Mm.
sure.
And
Mm.
so all the myths and things that you liked when you were little, did that come into play? I mean, because Pluto's deep change transformation, sort of governs things like Hades and la la la. Did
Yeah,
that
yeah.
help?
It did absolutely because I had so many power struggles
Ooh.
um, within family, within relationships, with authority.
Hmm.
There was all of that, and I had no choice but to face it
Mm,
and deal with it and keep fighting and not giving up.
mm,
And it really, at times, I did feel like I was down in the underworld.
mm,
Yeah, I really did, and I felt trapped, and at times didn't know where to go. Um, but just had to keep going and know that, um, yeah, I'd get there eventually. Yeah. It's really quite profound. But yeah, it was like being in the underworld at times. Yeah.
mm. And you've got your natal Jupiter in Capricorn, which I have as well, except mine's 0 degrees Capricorn.
Yeah.
It's not, Jupiter's not happy in Capricorn. But I've got my Saturn in Capricorn, so it is happy there. Your Saturn's in Gemini, but
Yeah.
your Jupiter is in Capricorn as well. So I've found that Jupiter in Capricorn means that you're not going to have out of the ordinary expectations of things,
Yeah.
because that
Yeah, I
Capricorn's
think
going to restrict it.
yeah, it does. I think it's quite grounded and quite realistic.
Mm,
For example, but mine's in the 12th house.
mm,
And what I found is I always have this, no matter how bad things get, I always have this deep sense that it's going to work out somehow.
mhm,
There's a very spiritual quality to it, and I just do think there's a higher purpose to everything.
mhm.
I think that always helps me to move through difficult situations. I've got my Jupiter square Pluto. If you look, there's a T square. I've
Yeah,
got that Sun Jupiter Pluto T square. I
yeah.
just keep pushing through, because sometimes you have no other choice.
Mm,
Yeah. And
mm.
I just always believe somehow I'm going to get where I need to be.
And you've got there. So that's cool. And then when you started tutoring the
Yeah.
students, yeah, what was that like? Talk me through that.
Well, like I say, I had that natural transition because I'd been a sports coach for so many years. So, I was very good at encouraging people. I can find a way of saying to someone, look, that's wrong, that's not working, you need to alter that. But I can do it in a sort of really positive, kind way, like
Mm,
a constructive way.
mhm,
Okay, and I think again that's that Capricorn Jupiter. So I make it as constructive as possible. But it was, I kind of just fell into it and
mhm,
I found it worked really, really well. I have a natural affinity with my students. And like I say, I've learned more from my students, I think, than anyone else because um, students ask you questions
mm,
or they're struggling with the concept and sometimes they frame it in a way that you've never heard before or
mm,
never sort of thought about, and you're constantly challenged to try and explain things
mhm,
in a way that makes sense, in a way that students understand.
mhm,
And I think that that's sort of really helped with my own astrological learning
mm.
because it doesn't matter how many years you've been doing astrology, we're all still learning, aren't we? We're all
Oh,
still,
yes. Mhm,
yeah. So so yeah, and even whenever I open a student's report, I'm still sometimes I'm amazed because they've written something so beautiful. And I'm like, yes, you've absolutely got it. And then sometimes or they just email me with a question and I'm like, I don't know how to answer that.
Mhm.
And it really pushes you forward to find answers that perhaps you just never even previously considered. So I'm very privileged to be a tutor, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, because they say that if you want to learn something, teach it.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
basically, yeah, yeah, you've just
because
said
that is
it.
the only way to learn something is to actually, because if you can't explain it to someone else, then you don't understand it yourself.
Exactly.
And I think that applies to quite a lot of different things. That if
Yeah,
you don't understand something well, if you cannot explain it to somebody else, and for them to then understand it, which I
yeah,
think is terribly important, especially when it's something like astrology, because astrology sort of seems easy enough. We've got names, numbers, planets, but it is a totally different language. We are teaching people a language,
yeah,
and one that also I think would only be useful for them to learn if it may help them make some sense of their lives or somebody else's or some situations, because why learn it otherwise? But yeah, and so there you are now. You're a successful astrologer, and you've got one book out. Did you say you're going to write some more astrology books? So after you've done this fiction one?
yeah, yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to next year's going to be Haumea, which is she's the chief goddess of Hawaii,
Oh,
if you
okay.
like. But she's out there in the Kuiper belt with Pluto
Hmm.
and all the trans-Neptunians, and she's got a very Plutonic resonance. So yeah, so I'm going to write about her, and it'll be in this very same style as the Juno book, because like I was saying, I kind of want it to be a box set, if you
Hmm.
like.
Hmm.
Um, so there's that coming. And then obviously my novel's coming, the sequel to the novel I've already started.
Oh my
So
God.
I know, I know,
And
I
how
know, I
many
know.
words are in your Juno book, approximately? Can you remember?
I don't know how many are in the Juno book. It's kind of that thick.
Okay.
That's how thick it is. But the
Hmm.
novel's about 90 something thousand words. It's about 400 pages. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. It's a proper novel.
Yeah, 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 absolutely. Yeah. No, my books are teeny. I think they're 20,000 words each one. They're
Yeah.
small, but they're just
Yeah.
introductions to things. And so you
But
must,
that's lovely. Sorry, I don't mean to
yeah,
interrupt there,
no, it's good.
but that's lovely because not everyone wants a great big tome, do they?
No.
Not everyone enjoys that. So in those introductory or sort of bite-size books, they're wonderful.
Mm.
I love them. Yeah,
Well, I mean, they're still selling, so somebody must be reading them somewhere because they came
exactly.
out a while ago. But I
Exactly.
have tried to make it as easy as possible for that very same, like if you can't explain it and you can't understand it, I'm doing something wrong.
Yeah, exactly.
And they're only teeny little introductions. And incidentally, the podcast is for beginner astrologers. So if you were giving some advice to your younger astrological self, what advice would you give her?
Okay, so basics, basics, basics. The foundations. You've got to have really solid foundations, all right? So learn the basics very, very solidly.
Mhm.
I would say be incredibly discerning about the information you take your astrological knowledge from. So, for example, the internet today, we can find anything on the internet. There's some incredible information, but there's some absolutely terrible regurgitated information as well. So be very discerning. I would do your research, find sort of really renowned, accredited astrologers who are reliable sources of information to learn from. Uh, I remember uh, years and years ago, before I even really started sort of studying astrology properly, I found a website and it listed all the placements of Pluto in the chart and how that would describe your death. So Pluto in the first house, this is how you would die. Pluto in the second house, this is how you would die. Well, I've got Pluto in the eighth, and it said Pluto in the eighth, you will die by alcoholism.
Okay.
I didn't have a glass of wine for a week afterwards. Honestly, I was so terrified. But it was terrifying. And
Mhm.
I think there is quite a lot of scaremongering
Mm,
information out there, deterministic
mm,
information. And it does have potential to scare people. You
mm,
know, I remember years ago someone coming to me and saying, "I've been looking at my forecast, and in 10 years, Pluto's going to do something to my son, and I'm convinced my father's going to be murdered." And I was, yeah, and it was a young person
mm,
who's sort
mhm,
of obviously been on the internet, and I was like, "A, why are you worrying about 10 years time? Why
mhm,
why look at your forecast for 10 years time? Okay. A, Sun Pluto contacts can mean many, many things.
mm,
The least likely is that your father's going to be murdered. And the other thing is, everyone born on the same day as you, if that would mean all of their fathers are going to be
mm,
murdered.
mm,
So I think, yeah, we have to be very careful because astrology is a double-edged sword. There's so much wisdom to be shared and it can be so beneficial. But when taken in the wrong context,
mm.
those examples I've given just, yeah.
So reputable resources get your basics. What other advice would you give somebody starting out?
Um, if you want to get a certification, I would certainly recommend it. There's some really, really fabulous schools. Obviously, I came through the Mayo, but there's many, many others. You can go onto the APAI website. You could find, great sources there. You know, but I would definitely I would definitely go down the academic route. But then my chart's quite academic anyway. That's the way I'm inclined. And because then you will get the opportunity to work through a proper syllabus. You
Mm,
will get, you will strengthen those foundations more. You will get to work with some great astrologers who are good teachers and who've probably been doing it for years and years and, have a great reputation. Um, and I would also say as well that astrology is a wonderful thing, and I get out of bed every morning looking through an astrological lens. It's just a natural thing, isn't it? I'll go to the supermarket, and if there's a long queue, I'll be like, "Oh no, Mercury's on Saturn today," or something like that. Or if I'm stuck in a traffic jam, I'll have a laugh. So I think we can't let it overtake our lives
mm,
because we have to just live our lives. It's like this thing with Mercury retrograde. Don't sign this. Don't do this. Don't
mm,
do that. Yeah, for sure. Be extra careful during the Mercury retrograde. Double check all the blueprint. Make sure everything's in place and everyone's clear on what's going on. But you can't hide under the duvet for three
mm.
weeks, 4 times a year,
No.
just because Mercury's in retrograde.
Mm,
So it should be a tool to assist us and guide us and enhance our perspective on ourselves and what's going on in the world, the astrological weather. But we shouldn't let it control us either.
mm,
'Cause I think it could be quite easy to fall into that trap. Yeah, I'm not going to get out of bed today because I've got a nasty Saturn transit.
mm,
We
mm.
can't be doing that.
Well, yeah, and the
Mhm.
other thing is if you look too, I mean, I'll tell you a little story. So I had a car accident. I wasn't the driver, and the police rocked up to my house at some point. I wasn't the driver, okay? I was the passenger. And the police came and they said, "Oh, what do you do for a living?" I thought, "Oh, I don't know what it's that." Well, I said, "Actually, I'm an astrologer." And he went, "Well, didn't you check today's reading?" I said, "Well, no, actually, I didn't because I don't do it every day. I mean, I do it every day, but I don't do it every second of every day of
Yeah,
every
yeah,
day."
yeah, yeah.
And he was just he like really shrugged his like, "Well, what's the point then in understanding astrology if you're not doing it to prevent that?" And I was like, "It doesn't work like that."
No, it doesn't because there might have been, I don't know, maybe some Mercury Uranus or some Mercury Saturn Mars Uranus, whatever, going on that day when you had that accident. But if you'd stayed in the house, that
Mm,
energy would have found you anyway, and you could have had
mm,
an accident in the house, you
mm.
know?
Bookshelf
So
could have fallen on me.
Exactly. So I'll share another funny
Go on.
story as well, because a few years ago I was looking at my solar rock directions for the year ahead, and I saw solar rock directed Saturn. It was coming up to make a conjunction with my natal Mars, I think.
Hmm.
I was like, oh my God, Mars and Saturn together. This is me as an astrologer. And I was
Mm.
like, what's that going to mean? And I started getting this like sense of dread. But as the year unfolded, it's really quite funny. In the January, my son started karate.
Wow.
And in the July, the exact week that that Mars Saturn direction exacted, I took up karate. Mars Saturn,
Mm.
it's martial arts. And
Mm.
look where I am now,
Mm.
and you'd need more Saturn, all the determination, the physical dedication, the toughness,
Mm.
the struggle, because
Mhm.
it is a struggle to sort of work your way to a black belt. And it's been the most wonderful thing in my life to take up martial arts. So that Mars Saturn dynamic coming together in that year, I would never change. It was brilliant. So again, to younger astrologers, Mars Saturn can be wonderful things. And I don't know if they deserve the terms malefic, it's
Yeah.
or whether it's just the term malefic that puts that sort of sense of dread into us.
Mm.
Because how would we function without Mars and Saturn in our charts?
Absolutely. We need some Saturn to make things real, and we need Mars to get some
Exactly.
energy. Yeah. Mm.
Exactly. So, yeah, I think we sort of need to stand back and don't just naturally believe everything you read as black and white. Sit and think about it,
Mm.
you know, look at, make observations, follow up what goes on in the news, relate it to transits and what's going on, and see how it actually manifests in real life. Um, so yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much for being on the podcast today, Lianne. So people will be able to find you at liannemcafferty.com. So it's LIANNEMCCAFFERTY.com. And I'll also put some links in the show notes, and also they'll be able to find you on YouTube as well. I'll put some links for that as well. So thank you very much for speaking with us today, and I hope you have a fab year. And it was really
Oh,
nice
thank
talking to you.
thank you for having me, Mary. You too. Take care. Bye
So, bye
bye.
bye. Thank you very much to Lianne for speaking with us today. And so there's still a discount code on my website of 20%. So if you pop over there to maryenglish.com, a little box will pop up, pop your email in there, and you'll get the code, and you can use that on any reading right up until Christmas. If you'd like to share your chart on the podcast, please ping me an email, mary@maryenglish.co.uk, and I hope you have a fab week, and I'll be back next week. Bye bye now.